Hello, folks. My name is Joseph Sharon, and I'd like to speak to you today about the Northern Song Dynasty first and second commissioned Royal Ru wares from the Royal Ru kiln. Uh, there happen to be two kilns. The first kiln they've been excavating since 1985, Ru kiln, and they haven't found the Royal Ru kiln as of yet. But these wares here all came out of the Royal Ru kiln, and they started to use crushed agate in the glaze from the Royal Ru kiln because Emperor Huizong uh, wanted to put the crushed blue agate in the glaze. And before that, anywheres before that, uh, in the first kiln, they did not use crushed agate. So I'm going to just show you some wares here. Uh, these wares here are uh, first commission wares. He wanted the wares to be very modest and look like they were made centuries before he was his reign. He wanted to look very old and ancient, and so he developed these wares for that reason. He wanted the celadon color that's very popular in China, and he wanted to produce some of the finest celadon wares that they ever produced. But that happened when he started to produce the second wares. These wares, they have a lot of them have different flaws in them, but everything stayed in the court. Nothing went out to the population or anything like that. They were all royal wares, and if they had flaws, they kept them. And let me just go through like this piece here. You can see all the pock marks on it, uh, and that's because they didn't crush the agate enough, and it made those pock marks all over the glaze. Now here's that same piece. This is the foot rim, and it shows these chips of agate, and they're pretty big chips. That's why it has all those pock marks. But here it is close up, and you can see the blue agate. This is a close up of that last photo. So that shows that they used the crushed agate in the glaze on these pieces. Now here's another piece, and this, if you can see the crackle, uh, whichever you're watching this on, uh, they all have similar crackle to them. And here's a close up of the glaze, and you can see the tiny uh, specks of blue agate that was put into the glaze. So they did crush the agate up, and you can see the agate in the glaze very easily. And here's another piece. Same thing with this piece. And this piece is marked. All the foot rings on these royal wares are not glazed. They sat flat in the kiln. And here's a close-up, and it shows the chips of agate in the glaze. Go to the other side here. Now these wares here are the second commission wares, and they were actually the finest celadon wares that China has ever produced, even to today. These wares are magnificent, and this has a fire-gilded band, copper band, and it's corroded, and I'll show you the corrosion on it. And it absolutely cannot be reproduced any way, shape, or form. Here's a close-up that shows the agate in the glaze. And here's a close-up of the fire-gilded band. And this botryoid malachite formations, they only occur in nature. It can't be reproduced. And the reason these fire-gilded bands corroded, because when they did the fire-gilding process, the gilt actually has microscopic pores in the gilt. And after many centuries, it starts to corrode underneath the gilt. The copper underneath the gilt starts to corrode and wants to transform back into its original state, which would be malachite and azurite. These, that's what the corrosion is. The metal actually goes back to the natural state. And it's taken 900 years to develop this patina on this piece. And here's another piece here. This is second commissioned, but these wares, they're a little darker color, and they have silver bands, fire-gilded silver bands. And because it's silver, you can see the type of corrosion on it. It's like a blackish corrosion, and this seeps out through the pores because the silver corrodes with the people call it tarnish, blackish tarnish on it, and so it corrodes that way. You can see the chips of agate here in the glaze. And here's a close-up of that corrosion that breaks through the gold and seeps out onto the band itself. Now I'm going to take it down here, and this is different bands that have that haven't been cleaned, and they show the botryoid malachite. Some of these bands have been cleaned slightly, but you can still see the malachite and cuprite. Now, this is a video. This company is they authenticate the ancient bronze and copper artifacts. And I just want to play this video to this botryoid malachite can't be faked. No one has ever faked this malachite patina. Only happens in nature. And this is like a guarantee of the authenticity. Let me just play this.
This is the scale of it, right? Could you tell us what bubbles, right?
They look like bubbles. The technical term for them is botryoids, but that's one of the ways that malachite and azurite crystals can form is in these little spheres or globules. And I have not been able to find any evidence that this can be recreated in a lab. You see the small scale is 1 millimeter scale bar at the bottom. And so when I find these things, it's a good indication that this patina is something that took a long time to create, not something that was applied or created in a lab.
Yeah. Fascinating. Oh, and this one?
Same thing in azurite. These little nodules.
Other nodules, yes.
Sorry that I did not include a scale bar with that, but I would expect it to be very similar to the previous slide.
Yeah.
And when you find these things on the surface of your patina, again, it's a very good indicator.
Okay, if you want to go to this gentleman's website, you can just click on this, and if you want to see the full video, you can click on this, and that'll bring you to the video. It's 3 different parts. It's pretty long, but it's very informative. And so I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to show you some more of the first commission wares. And a lot of these forms have never been actually seen before. This shows the close up of the agate in the glaze, and here's another one. We'll just go through this one here. This is a first commission ware. And you can see some areas here where the chips of agate are in the glaze. Let's move down here. Now this piece has a lot of different flaws to it, but they didn't break anything. They kept everything in the court. You saw beauty in all these wares, whether they were flawed or not. And you can see the chips of agate in the glaze. These are all first commission wares here. All the first commission wares, they didn't put on any banding or anything like that on it. And they wanted to look ancient. And this is like a drum form, but many of the forms have never been actually seen before in these pieces. And you can see the agate on this piece. Now, I'm going to move down here, and we're going into the second commission wares. Now, here's another piece that is a second commission piece that has the fire-gilded over copper bands. And you'll see the has the agate and the glaze. And here's a close-up of the band. Shows the malachite formations. And now we're going to move down here. Now these pieces here, none of these pieces here, these are all second commission wares, but they don't have any banding on them. And they're all really exquisite pieces. Now none of these pieces have banding. And you can see this looks like it was a off-colored white biscuit to it, and in the firing process it turned brown. And here's a close-up of the agate that's in the glaze. Here's another one. You can see the agate in the glaze. Here's another piece. There's no banding on these. They're all celadon. There's no marks on them. As far as rain marks or anything like that, there's no markings on them. And these are all exquisite pieces. You can see the crushed agate reflecting. Just show you this last one here in this section. And you can see the agate in the glaze. Now we're going to go to these are all second commission wares. Now these wares down here, they were all done with silver bands, fire-gilded silver bands. And I'll go through some of these here, just give you an idea of what they look like close up. And you can see the crushed agate in the glaze. And here's a close-up of the band. You can see that blackish corrosion. Another one. You can see the crushed agate in the glaze. And this is a close-up of the corrosion. This is what makes the Ru kiln so fabulous. This is why they were renowned, and why the emperor chose them to produce wares for himself in his court. because these potters were way ahead of themselves. They couldn't produce these wares today. Now, some of these, there basically is no crackle in the glaze, but some of the ones with the silver bands have a couple lines of crackle, and that's about it. And so there is a little bit of crackle in it, but most of the pieces don't have crackle. You can see the little spots of specks of crushed agate. And here's the close-up. Of the fire-gilded silver band. These pieces, you can see this, you won't see any of this agate in any of the pieces from the first kiln. Only in the royal kiln did they use agate. And the auction companies and the people that have been studying this have said that the agate melted in the glaze. They never put the agate in. And only the royal pieces have the agate. And it would be impossible to melt for agate to melt in the glaze because the kilns only went up to 1250 degrees centigrade and or Celsius rather, and so that's it. That's the second commission wares and the first commission wares, and you come to my website and you can see a lot more of different pieces that came from this royal kiln. And I'd like to thank you for watching the video, and good luck collecting.